Hey guys, Chris here with Strength and Steel Reviews, certified personal trainer and unapologetic gear junkie. Today we are going to discuss the differences between the leg press, hack squat combo, and a belt squat. I've come to understand that a lot of you are trying to decide between these two machines because most people either don't have the space or the money to have both. And that's okay because in my opinion, you don't need both. So we're going to review pros and cons to both machines and hopefully come to conclude what works for you with your budget and your space. Let's get to it. So let's begin with the leg press hack squat combo. Now, one of the cons of owning a leg press hack squat combo, which I'm sure you've already concluded yourself, is they are very large. They are big pieces, bigger than the belt squat, at least the belt squat that I'm going to review with you today. Now, there are some compact leg press hack squat combos out there. Some I do know work relatively well, though they're also known as sleds. To get a full-sized hack squat leg press where you can achieve complete depth and a complete range of motion, you're gonna have to sacrifice a pretty solid chunk of floor space to the machine. Because ultimately, that's what you should be considering. Can you get a full range of motion on the two primary functions of a hack squat leg press? On the leg press, you bring your knees almost all the way to your chest, and on a hack squat, can you indeed sink your butt almost to the bottom of that plate? Because most studies are showing today that the most effective way to build muscle is to put your muscles in a lengthened position under load. That means getting as low as you can on that squat, for example. That's ultimately where you're going to develop the most muscle. So if you're going to invest in a hack squat leg press, in my opinion, you want to make sure that it can do that. If it can't, or if perhaps you value one function more than the other, then that might be okay. Some of you might just be looking for a good hack squat. A lot of these machines really excel in one area and not the other. That's something else that I would ask that you keep in mind. So for instance, on my RitFit Gazelle Pro, I think the leg press is pretty good. The angle isn't perfect, but you can indeed get complete depth. The hack squat, on the other hand, especially if you're under 6 feet tall, you're gonna bottom out. So you have to get creative in the ways that you counteract this. It's not the end of the world. For me, I just place yoga blocks on my shoulders, and all of a sudden the problem is solved. But if you want a top tier leg press hack squat, you're gonna have to search for a machine that requires no modifications. It's probably going to cost you, but it might be worth it depending on how much you want to invest and what your space looks like. Ultimately, the leg press hack squat is so popular because they are two prime leg builders in one machine. And if you find a machine that even does one motion very well, then you're willing to tolerate a more mediocre performance from the secondary function. Also, usually they'll call these 3-in-1 machines because you can also train your calves. It is not going to be as effective indeed as having like a standing calf raise machine. But as a good secondary function, there's no doubt that it is nice to have. Now let me draw a sharp contrast with a belt squat. I have the Squat Max MD by Titan Fitness. It's very simple. There's no complex functioning in the way that it works. Essentially, the weight plates wrap around a rod and you control the rod with a belt that's provided to you by Titan Fitness, and you raise and lower it. It's a true calculation of weight distribution. There's no levers, no pulleys, no mechanisms that contort the amount of weight that you're actually raising. The plus about a belt squat is that you are not taxing your spine when you're loading this weight. Instead of loading the weight on your shoulders, indeed, you are loading it around your waist like a belt, hence the title, belt squat. Now, some people build a lot of muscle instantaneously by doing squats, be it barbell squats or belt squats. If that is the case, a belt squat might be your dream. For me, because I have apparently god-awful genetics when it comes to developing the quads, I need to have multiple options available to me. And personally, when I am forced into a machine, into a specific range of motion that exposes my quads, that is when I build the most muscle. And a part of the problem with squats for me is that though I am cursed with extremely poor genetics for my quads, my glutes are the total opposite, and they want to do everything. So it would seem that no matter what kind of squat, be it barbell or belt squat that I perform, my glutes interject and insist on being heavily involved unless I really keep my feet close together and I give all of my effort towards pushing my knees over my toes, which is why I almost exclusively use a slant board when performing barbell squats or Bulgarian split squats, which is an awesome leg exercise that if you haven't tried, you should research and consider. That said, ordinarily, the belt squat will take up less space depending on what belt squat you're looking at. My Titan Fitness Squat Max MD, it just tucks right into the corner over there. And overall, it's pretty light. It isn't fun to move, but it does have wheels and it can be moved. The RitFit Gazelle Pro also has wheels, but I wouldn't dare to ever employ them. Not a chance. Now, a con of the belt squat is you can only squat. That's it. I mean, the Titan Fitness Squat Max MD is utilizing new attachments where you can row and you can do additional exercises. For me personally, and I am just speaking from my own experience, when I buy a belt squat, when I buy a leg press hack squat machine, I'm just seeking to target my lower body. I'm not worried about doing rows or some unique curling variation. I think that's cool, and for a lot of you that may be nice, but I'm speaking exclusively to the functionality of a leg press hack squat and a belt squat as they are intended, which is to target indeed your lower body, your quads and your glutes, your hamstrings, everything down here. So ultimately, I would suggest that if you have the space, I would recommend the leg press hack squat combo because these are two terrific lower body builders, especially if you appreciate the functionality of machine-based training. Additionally, you have the secondary function of a calf raise. It isn't perfect, but man, depending on the equipment you have available in your gym, it is really nice to have. Do your research. If you're looking at different hack squats and leg presses between a specific price range, watch reviews, listen to reviewers who discuss the range of motion and both functions. A lot of them are just trying to sell you the product. They're not trying to show you the perfect functionality of the design because many of them have just been gifted the machine, which is honestly a consideration that I have struggled with recently. I'm unwilling to accept a lot of different products because I don't want to sign a lot of these weird contracts I have saying I have to promote them in a very specific way, which is a part of my growth process as a reviewer. So overall, leg press hack squat, the pros would be the two exercises, especially if they are done really well by the company that's creating your machine. I think they are two big primary movers and they are very efficient. And that secondary movement of the calf raise is not to be denied. The negative, it takes up a lot of space and their quality differs dramatically, so you have to do a lot of research. Comparatively, the belt squat is a much simpler mechanism, especially if you go with something like this Titan Fitness Squat Max MD. I really do like my Titan Fitness Squat Max MD, but if I had to choose between the two, I would toss it in an instant. The only reason I have it is because I believe my clients will find it really useful. If you're somebody who's just getting into squatting, maybe you have back issues, this belt squat is going to be a lifesaver. It is not taxing on your spine. It's also not taxing on your central nervous system. And in that way, it will be supremely beneficial, especially to beginners. Also as a pro, the belt squat takes up comparatively very little space overall. That said, its functionality, at least in my eyes, is limited just to squatting. And if you're somebody who needs a lot of different exercises really to target your lower body and who prefers the safety and efficiency of machine-based training, because the hack squat leg press overall is pretty safe too, I would advise that you consider the hack squat leg press, depending on space considerations. I'm giving you my 2 cents. Ultimately, they're two great machines, but their quality differs dramatically depending on who is making them. I have both, but I don't use my belt squat half as much as I use my hack squat leg press. And one day, I hope to have a really top tier hack squat leg press. Until then, I am content with having both. And that's it. Those are just my feelings. I've been getting questions, so here I am addressing them. Do with it what you wish, choose carefully, do your research, and above all, stay strong and stay steely. And I will catch you in the next one. Adios.